Thank you again for all of you for being here. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you the man of the hour, who I am just, every time I see him, I smile now, Professor Samson Williams. And so let's start with the fact that Professor Williams has many roles and responsibilities and titles. Among those is Professor of Columbia University, Professor of the University of North Hampshire School of Law. He's also a crisis manager. I think he said it was one of his most, probably his biggest roles is a crisis manager for financial institutions. He's an anthropologist. And one of the things he shared with us earlier today is his focus on technology and how that relates to humanity, right? I think to articulate it and paraphrase what he said is basically, technology without humanity is, what is it? If it's not something that we're going to use, if it's not something that's going to really help us to solve problems and it's going to be user friendly, what's the whole point of it? Sure, we can talk about artificial intelligence and things like that, but we aren't there yet. We still reign in the form of intelligence. And by we, I'm talking about humans. So, and the other thing I think about Professor Williams is that he is just really a fun guy. Without further ado, Professor Williams is going to talk to us about some elements of blockchain and some ways that blockchain can help us solve problems. He is going to plant some seeds that we would like for you to take and consider how this information can be used to help educate the community. So again, in addition to offering this competition and sponsoring the competition, FinTech is also giving you all these amazing people who will be coming to talk to you and share their knowledge with you. So knowledge that not only can you use for your videos, but knowledge that you can use and take in and do amazing things with. So with that said, Professor Williams, I'm gonna mute myself and I'm gonna turn over this microphone to you. I give you all Professor Samson Williams.
Thank you. Hello, beautiful people. Patrice, I'll have to send you some Venmo money for that wonderful introduction. I'm completely not worthy of it. We are going to talk a lot about a couple of things. I cheated. I wrote down some things on paper. I know we live in a very highly technologically advanced universe, but it all starts by writing your ideas down on paper. So get a pen and a piece of paper. But I want to take a moment to have Professor George Pullen. He also teaches with me at UNH, University of New Hampshire School of Law. He's also not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer either. It's a funny story, as well as at Columbia. So George, before I forget, because I'm gonna call on you later, and of course you can always hit back cleanup for me. Tell everyone your disclaimer so I don't get you in trouble again. Go.
So my disclaimers, my name is George Pullen. I'm here in my capacity as an academic. Professor Williams already mentioned my teaching roles. I also have a day job. In my day job, I'm currently the acting assistant director for product review and division market oversight at the US CFTC, which is the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. Anything I say is a reflection on my own academic experiences and thoughts and feelings, and not those of the US government, its officials, any directors or people I may have over me. Thanks.
Awesome. So George has a really important job at the Commodities and Future Trade Commission. And occasionally I get him in trouble because we forget to give his disclaimer. But it's important because later when we talk about, particularly when you talk about the easiest use cases of blockchain, which are cryptocurrencies, a majority of them, if they're not a security, they're going to be a derivative. And that's going to, if they're a derivative, they're going to fall square in the midst of the Commodities and Future Trade Commission. But we'll get to that. So first off, I love electromagnetic radiation. It's amazing. And people are like, what does that have to do with blockchain? Well, it's actually how Wi-Fi works. But literally no one wants to know how Wi-Fi works. You just like, what's the password? And ta-da, now you're all Wi-Fi experts. I think it was Judith who said this earlier. We are going to get to a point where when someone says blockchain, it's like saying HTML or HTTP or the www dot. While we could explain to you how the internet works and how Wi-Fi works, you don't care. And if your business works really well, no one cares that you use blockchain. And for the students who are thinking of business ideas, your business is your business. You may use blockchain if it makes sense for your business, particularly if it makes you more money. If blockchain doesn't make you more money, don't use it for your business. So we're going to come back to that because sometimes there's some confusion that I'm a blockchain business. No, you're probably not a blockchain business. You probably use blockchain to do some kind of business activity that hopefully generates revenue. If you say we're going to sell a cryptocurrency, a token, or an NFT, those digital thingamajiggies, those are products that your business made using blockchain. I'm going to say this again because sometimes we get lost in that. Your business made an NFT, a token, or a crypto and sold it as a product. If you go to raise money for your business, that has absolutely nothing to do with the type of technology that you're using to make your digital thingamajiggy. It sounds complicated, rather it's nuanced. It sounds simple, but lots of people get this confused. But we want to take a step back right quick and have a wonderful, beautiful exercise. If you have a piece of paper, I'll show you mine. There it goes. So I want you to make this 4 squares, a box, then put a cross in the middle, 4 squares. In square 1, I want you to write technology. In square 2, right next to technology, put philosophy. In the bottom square, put economics, and next to that, law. And so when we talk about blockchain, people think, oh, I need to be a dev, a programmer. I'm like, but there's so many things, there's so many more important things to blockchain than being a dev. Because partially people think I need to be a technologist to be in the blockchain space. That's really not the case. Blockchain actually needs more more humanities degrees and more journalism and creative writing degrees. Because whatever the technical product you're developing, you have a business, you have a technology that you use to make a technical product, to deliver some type of technical product. When you go to buy a phone, you don't buy the phone because you actually know how it works. It's just a little black magic box that has the history of the world in the palm of your hand, and you mostly use it to scroll through Instagram. Let's just be real. But it still has the history of the world in the palm of your hand. And there might be a couple of people on this call who could actually like, I can tell you how this works. But everyone else, they don't care how it works. I click a button, I talk to my grandmother. She's 90 years old. That's the most important thing. I don't know how this black magic works, but I know it connects me to my loved ones. I know something, I feel some type of way about it, and then my feet are the action that I take. It's called head, heart, feet. You can write that down, it's super important. Head, heart, feet, so that you know something exists. Hey, it's a black thingamajig that about fits in the palm of my hand. But I love it so much because the moment you lose your phone, you're like, oh my God, you get anxious. You go through withdrawal. You're like, where is it at? Because your life is on here, not because you care about the technology. So if you're thinking you need to know how to be a programmer or a coder or a dev or a system architect or whatever to be in the blockchain space, you don't. You just need to know how to tell a story, because every dollar tells a story. And if you tell your story well, other dollars will come listen to yours. And so in the grand scheme of blockchain, it is important to know about the technology, even if you don't necessarily know how to execute on it. Excuse me, because you're going to help tell the story. So in order to help tell the story, before we go back to our 4 squares about technology, philosophy, economics, and law, we're going to make you all blockchain professionals. Congratulations. I've got my magic wand. It's a red pen. I'm going to make you all blockchain professionals right quick. So blockchain is like a group text message. This is super important, highly important that everyone knows this. I don't know if you're going to capture the chat on this recording, but let's just pretend Samson sends Patrice. I'm going to send her $500, right? That's in the chat. You can see that right there. It's like, okay, super cool. So, and then Patrice sends Judith $300. So it's like, oh, super cool. And then, so Judith sends Amanda. Sorry, Amanda, she doesn't like you that much. She only sent you 75 cents. And it's like, why did she send you 75 cents? I'm like, hey, Amanda, I'm not here to tell you why Judith only sent you 75 cents, but you got 75 cents. And so in this, thinking of it like a group text message. So even the chat is a group text message. We can all see that I sent Patrice $500, and then Patrice sent Judith 300. So how much money does Patrice have? Patrice only has $200 left, right? She can't say I have $5 million. She can't say I have $50 million, because we can all look at the chat and be like, oh, no. You've only got $200 left. And then Amanda's like, I'm gonna go buy a house. But we're like, hey, Amanda, we're looking at the group text, or at the node in the blockchain world, it's called a node, but you only have 75 cents. So you don't have a down payment for the house. We can verify. And so this is a distributed, timestamped, encrypted ledger. Ledger means you can just go up and down of data. And so that's a group text message. And if you doubt this is the case, take a photo that's inappropriate for work and send it into a group text message. It doesn't matter if you delete it, it still exists on the internet. It is never going away. It's immutable 100%. And so this is where blockchain is just like that group text message. And so now you can all explain blockchain. It's like, if you need a timestamp distributed ledger of records of data, that's just a group text message. That's just the chat. The real magic that happened when we sent this money between these individuals, where was the bank? Because when you send a text message, you're sending bits of data. Sometimes you send a photo, sometimes you send a directions to a restaurant. Those are just data. Technology doesn't matter, but it's a lot of data, little data, it's just data. You send a video that's 5 gigs, you just hit send, and it puts it on the ledger. And so in the blockchain world, the cell phones are called nodes. And so these information, these nodes, they keep these records of information just like in a group text message. The magic there was there's no bank. And this is where blockchain gets a little bit like witchcraftery, because it's like the financial institutions are like, oh my God, this is so crazy. There's no bank. How are we supposed to? Last year, 2020, Bank of America made $32.5 billion. George will correct me on that if I'm wrong, in overdraft fees. $32 billion in overdraft fees just for 2020. You can't do that in the blockchain space because, Amanda, you've only got 75 cents. You can't buy that. We know this because we're looking at the group text message, which is the blockchain. And so now that you can understand, oh, blockchain works like a group text message, the question then becomes, do you actually want to use a public distributed timestamp ledger of records of data for your business? So if you're a student, remember, your business is your business. Whatever technology you use, blockchain, a database, whatever, that's just the technology that you use to create your digital thingamajiggy. If this technology doesn't make your business more money, don't use that technology, use something else. And so now that we have a sort of an understanding of, oh, blockchain is like a group text message, the real concern with financial institutions, how do they maintain control over money, over the concept of money and currency, if their people are just sending and receiving data? Because the shocker is, even today, about 96% of money is already digital. If we ask who on the call gets direct deposit, I'm assuming it's 99% of us, because you have a debit card that's on the back of your digital device that's known as your supercomputer or your phone. Your phone itself is typically a money receiving device as well. Very rarely do you actually have cash. So about 96% of money is already digital. We've had digital money since 1956, when the first credit card or Diners Club was invented. That gave us digital money. And so nowadays, when we talk about digital currency, digital money, we're like, oh man, we might have to ask Professor Pullen about that. But first, I want to go back to our block. Now that everyone feel comfortable, because you're now all blockchain experts, right? Blockchain is like group text message. Awesome. Now it's, do we want to use this blockchain to make money for our business? 99% of the time, your answer is no, you don't. So remember, if you're a student, whatever your business is, blockchain might sound really, really cool, but you might not want to use it because it's not going to make you any money, in which case you're going to go and spend about $3 million to find out I shouldn't have done that. So let's go back to this cube where we have technology, philosophy, economics, and law. First one is technology. These are the 4 phases for blockchain, or 4 areas of specialization that students and people can get into. First off is technology. Woohoo! Ocean Protocol, Corda, R3, Hyperledger, whatever the brand name is that you know for a blockchain programming language. That's awesome. You're all plumbers. People like, what? I'm like, well, you're going to go fix the stuff in the background that makes the stuff on the website work. That's called plumbing. Keep in mind, blockchain, it ain't neural, it is not natural language processing, which is going to eat the world, or machine learning. It's just blockchain. Those are actually two more important things than blockchain. So that's technology. Congratulations. It takes you 15 minutes. You can outsource it. Ta-da. Now we go to the philosophy. The philosophy of blockchain is where all the conversations about, where all the angst is about, because part of it is, should your business be decentralized? Then we're like, what does that even mean? I don't even know what does decentralized mean. And so we have to have a philosophical conversation, not about the technology, because we can do it. Doesn't mean we should, like from an ethical, a moral, or a practical or operational purposes. About blockchain, there's this really big conversation about decentralization. My first question, and I used to do this when I was working in Dubai and Saudi Arabia for the banks, I'd ask them, do you want a public distributed ledger of all your transactions that is easily audible? And everyone would stop, because everyone's like, hold up, do we want a public ledger of every bit of transaction that happens? That's actually a risk management question. It gets incredibly difficult to launder money if I can track every transaction. And from a business perspective, do you want to assume all of that risk? Because risk, you either assume it, avoid it, mitigate it, or transfer it. You're going to learn this in business school or just in life. And so from a business perspective, if you say, hey, we're going to be on a blockchain, we're going to be 100% transparent. Do you want to accept all of that risk? That's a question for your lawyers. We'll get to the legal part in a moment. So you'll have a lot of conversation, even about, and I'm going to pitch this to George for a moment. George, philosophically, when people talk about cryptocurrencies or money, we've already heard your disclaimer. Thank you very much. Where are we at nowadays with money, the concept of money?
Oh boy. Okay. So the purpose of money is it's supposed to provide us efficiencies in our economic transactions with one another, because it's not practical. Well, first of all, no one ever paid me to do anything. I have no practical skills. But for practical skills, it would make sense that if someone needs to have my dad fix their toilet and all you do is thatch roofs, we're never going to come together. And so money gives us a medium of exchange so that we can transact back and forth with each other, right? That's what money is supposed to do. Today, it's important for people to keep in mind that here in the USA, we've created a lot of money lately, but we haven't necessarily created a lot of additional goods, products, services, or activities that go along with that money. Just so everyone keeps it in mind, the amount of money that we currently have in circulation is about a third greater today than it was 18 months ago. I'll say that one more time. There is 33% more money today than there was 18 months ago. I didn't just say that things are about to be 33% more expensive, but I'll let you figure out that math. That's all I got.
So there's a huge conversation when we talk about the philosophy of blockchain, because most of the time people think blockchain, they think cryptocurrencies. Blockchain or cryptocurrencies are the easiest application of blockchain technology. Applications of blockchain than cryptocurrencies. And cryptocurrencies is really just a philosophical conversation around, do we trust the government with what we consider our value? That's a political conversation, a governmental conversation. It's a customer acquisition conversation, because every new cryptocurrency, again, if you're going to start a business and you're going to use blockchain to make a cryptocurrency, the real question is, how are you going to get people to use it? Because now you're going to talk about, oh, we're going to spend millions of dollars on marketing. There's a great Spike Lee commercial out for CoinCloud right now, where he's talking about decentralization, giving power back to the people. And I'm thinking, man, how much did CoinCloud pay Spike Lee to do this 60-second commercial? Because again, that's your business. Blockchain is a technology that you're going to make your cloud or your coin or your crypto or your token out of. Then you got to market to humans who don't care about your good product or service because they don't know it, for them to actually invest or use your business. So it's like, oh, which is more important? Actually, your marketing is more important, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. we've got our 4 boxes: technology, philosophy, economics. Sometimes when we're weaving in between those 3, it gets a little confusing because it's like, aren't we supposed to be talking about technology? I'm like, yeah, we're talking about a business. Your technology does something, creates a digital product, a digital thingamajiggy. What do you want to do with that digital thingamajiggy? Part of that is a philosophical conversation. Part of that is an economic conversation. And that leads us to that 4th box, which we have as law. We can also put /politics. And so here you'll hear where, particularly when it comes to blockchain, George, I want you to give us 3 uses for blockchain that are not based on currencies, our money.
Sure. So the top 3 I will give you will be based on the actual spend associated with them, because fintech is not the #1 spend in blockchain spending. So the first will be in healthcare. So in healthcare, there are mountains and mountains of healthcare data. A lot of this healthcare data needs to both be associated and needs to be private, because it's your health, it's your medical records. The blockchain, the blockchain has solutions for that, because we can both encrypt this, make sure that it is protected from cyber, but also so that there are privacy layers and that people can provide permission, think of keys, permission to view your medical records. Okay, so that's #1, electronic medical systems, electronic medical records, and how data can be used for the healthcare system using a blockchain technology solution, #1. #2, we're going to talk about supply chains. So for supply chains, both in space and aerospace, but also many other things, let's even talk about coffee beans. There are a number of current projects that are live that track everything from wine to coffee beans to cattle, and to make sure that everyone understands what's being touched in that supply chain. That supply chain fragility showed up in really large amounts over the pandemic. And so we know how fragile our supply chains are. And so better understanding chains of custody, where things are coming from, where things are going, improvements with bill of lading. That's something that actually still exists in paper form in many places when products and services move from one port to another. All of that can be benefited by blockchain technology. And the final one I'll mention, which I think should be on everyone's mind, is proper accounting of ESG dollars. By most accounts, anywhere from half to now 2/3 of all investment dollars that are being tracked. So this does leave out some of the family office money, things you don't get to see, but half of the public dollars being tracked are tied to ESG measurements. ESG measurements are tough. They require a lot of information, a lot of data, a lot of sharing across large enterprises. Blockchain technology can be great for this, because I get to pick what I share with you, and I can use things called oracles. I'm not going to try to introduce a new term, but I can use things like oracles, which interact as a sovereign independent third party to verify what's happening, so that we both agree that whatever ESG standard needed to be met was being met, and that this data set represents that I can now invest my funds on. So those are the first 3 I'd go with, and none of those have anything to do with get rich quick tokens.
No, that's super important. So just remember, if whatever your business is, you might be in logistics, you might be in healthcare. Your business is your business. Mind your business. Whatever technology you use, only use it if it makes your business more money. If whatever the technology is doesn't make your business more money, then don't use it. Most people say I'm a blockchain business. I'm like, no, you're not. It's like saying you're an internet business. You're not an internet business. Comcast is an internet business. You use the internet to do business. See the difference? So don't say you're a blockchain business. Like, no. Your business uses blockchain to do something, much like your business uses the internet to do something. The tech is really not that important. But now we're here on this law/politics box of blockchain. And so if you're going to be a lawyer, if you're thinking about being a lawyer, if you're thinking about being in policy, you came to the right place, because the funny thing about blockchain is we have to have some huge policy questions. We talked about the philosophy of it. We went from technology philosophy to economics, but all of that is really driven by the policy, by the law. For instance, if you say, hey, we're going to create this cryptocurrency that's going to democratize something and improve people's lives, if you have to earn it, well, then we're going to talk about what's the minimum wage. Right now, the minimum wage is $7.25 or something like that. We're trying to get it up to $15. It's like, oh, that's a policy question. And if you say, oh, we're just going to create this digital currency, this token, this crypto that gives everyone money, what you really are saying is we're going to have a conversation about universal basic income, our UBI. And now that's just the policy law conversation. Because in theory, if you set up central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, you've actually laid out the infrastructure so that you know, hey, Judith and Patrice and Michael and Dr. Sharon, I know how much you're going to get paid because the government's going to give you your allotment of money, whether you work or not. And it's like, is that a good idea? Because now we're stepping on the tippy toes of socialism. And as Americans, we'd be like, I don't know if we actually want to do that. That again is a policy question, also a little philosophical question. Because if you're building this amazing digital infrastructure where you can track all money, where money is, you're saying, I'm going to create a digital dollar, and you're like, but Samson just told us that our credit cards and our direct payments and the fact I haven't used cash in 18 months because of the pandemic. I'm not even joking. During the pandemic, how many times did you touch cash to pay for anything? Because you're probably ordered Uber Eats off of this and they don't accept cash. And so this is where you're like, oh yes, money has been digital, at least since the start of the pandemic. So how are we all of a sudden going to introduce a central bank digital currency? How is that different than my debit card? That's going to take some gymnastics to explain that to you. But you're having a policy question. You're having a legal question. As part of the legal question for blockchain is, do you have the right to be anonymous? That's a really good question. Should the government, particularly with central bank digital currencies, should the government be able to track every penny that you earn and every penny that you pay or that you spend? As part of that, central bank digital currencies, they're not even blockchain based, they're just a digital product, but central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, they are the institutional response to this new emerging technology, which is blockchain, which is really the only reason blockchain exists is because people are like, hey, our banking system is broken. Blockchain doesn't fix our broken banking system. That's a policy question. That's a policy thing. That requires humans to come to consensus. And we know how elections work out, particularly here in the US. They're always hotly debated. And so when you see that CBDCs are laying the foundation for central bank digital currencies, the real question is, how much of your rights to privacy do you want to give up? So we've laid this foundation we've talked about blockchain. Now I hope you understand that blockchain is a component of fintech, financial technology. But if you're thinking about starting your business, remember, blockchain is just a tool. And what products, goods, or services are you going to develop with this tool that make your business money? Keep that in mind.